What happens when a daytime TV host pushes too far, and a Hollywood legend pushes back even harder? What you're about to witness is one of the most explosive live television moments in recent memory, a confrontation so intense it ended with one of daytime TV's biggest personalities walking off her own show, never to return. This is the story of how Joy Behar's career on The View came to a shocking halt during what was supposed to be a routine celebrity interview. If you think you've seen heated exchanges on daytime television before, think again. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know what you think really happened behind the scenes, because this story has layers that will blow your mind. The studio audience buzzed with anticipation as the show returned from commercial break. Joy Behar, seated at her usual Hot Topics table, shuffled her notes one last time before locking eyes with camera 2. That familiar glint in her eye was there. The one longtime viewers knew meant trouble was coming. "Welcome back to The View," Joy announced, her trademark New York accent cutting through the studio air. "We're here with Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey, joining us to discuss his upcoming independent film. Kevin, thank you for being here." Kevin Spacey, impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit, sat across from the panel with his hands calmly folded. His expression was polite but guarded, the same measured demeanor that had served him throughout decades in Hollywood. "Thank you for having me, Joy," he replied smoothly. "It's always interesting to be on live television." The word interesting lingered a beat too long. Joy leaned forward, tapping her pen against her notepad, in the rhythm viewers knew meant she was about to go off script. "You know, Kevin, I have to ask," she began, her tone shifting into the familiar edge that signaled confrontation. "There's been a lot of talk about accountability in Hollywood lately. How do you personally define redemption?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Kevin's jaw tightened slightly, but his media-trained smile stayed firmly in place. "Well, Joy," he said carefully, "I think redemption is about the work we do moving forward. It's about contributing positively to the artistic community and focusing on the craft that brought us all together." Joy's eyes narrowed. But is it really that simple? Can someone just decide they've moved forward and expect everyone else to move with them? The studio grew quiet. Even her co-host seemed to sense Joy was straying into dangerous territory, unscripted territory. Kevin uncrossed his legs and leaned back, his composure intact, but his gaze now fixed entirely on her. "I think we live in a society where people are allowed to rebuild their lives," he said evenly. "That's what I'm doing, focusing on my work and the projects that matter to me. But what about the people who can't just rebuild?" Joy's voice rose slightly. "What about the people whose lives were affected by actions some in this industry have taken? Don't they deserve more than just someone saying they're focusing on their craft?" The tension was palpable. Camera operators exchanged glances. The producer frantically gestured from the control booth. Kevin's polite smile faded, replaced by a cooler, more calculated demeanor. "Joy," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I came here to talk about my new film, which deals with themes of human resilience and artistic expression. I'm not sure what situations you're referring to, but it's important we don't make assumptions about people's experiences or motivations." Joy leaned in, full force, her confrontational style now unrestrained. "I'm not making assumptions, Kevin. I'm asking direct questions about accountability, something that seems to be in short supply these days, especially among those who think talent gives them a free pass." Kevin's hands clenched the arms of his chair. "Joy, I need to stop you right there," he said, his voice controlled but unmistakably firm. "You're implying serious things on live television. You need to be careful about the territory you're walking into." "I am being careful, Kevin," Joy shot back. "I'm asking the questions others might be too intimidated to ask." "Intimidated?" Kevin raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting others have been intimidated by me? Maybe it's time someone asked the hard questions without worrying about ruffling feathers, Joy retorted. Maybe it's time someone said what everyone else is thinking. The studio went silent. Kevin's voice dropped to a dangerously quiet edge. And exactly what is it that you think everyone is thinking, Joy? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The co-hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats, exchanging worried glances. The audience seemed to realize they were witnessing something far beyond a typical daytime TV interview. Joy, however, thrived in the chaos, energized by the confrontation. I think everyone is wondering, she said, leaning forward, how someone can just show up and expect to be treated like nothing ever happened. People are asking about accountability, about consequences, about whether talent really gives someone a free pass to move on. Kevin's response was precise, measured, the kind of delivery a seasoned actor uses to make every word land. Joy, let me ask you something, he said, his tone carrying a subtle, unmistakable edge. Do you really want to continue down this path on live television? Because once we go there, there's no turning back. And I'm not sure you're ready for where this conversation might lead. But Joy was undeterred. If anything, his warning fueled her determination. Are you threatening me, Kevin? She shot back, her voice slicing through the studio tension. Because if you are, our viewers deserve to know exactly what kind of person they're dealing with. Kevin's laugh was soft, but humorless. Threatening you? No, Joy. I'm trying to save you from yourself. You're walking into a conversation you're not equipped to handle, making accusations live without regard for consequences. The only consequences I care about, Joy said, leaning forward, are the ones that come from not speaking the truth. The truth is, some people think they can just rehabilitate their image with a few interviews and everyone will forget what happened. Kevin's eyes narrowed. What exactly do you think happened, Joy? His voice dropped to a quiet, menacing calm, making every word feel like a challenge. Joy's co-hosts subtly tried to intervene. Whoopi gestured, signaling her to pull back, but Joy's focus was locked on Kevin. Powerful people got away with things they shouldn't have, she said, her voice rising. And now some are pretending it never happened. Kevin paused, studying her with the calculating intensity of a master strategist. Joy, you're making a serious mistake. You're confusing having a television show with having power, being loud with being right, and you're about to learn the difference. Is that a threat? Joy demanded, her voice now echoing slightly in the studio. Because I've been threatened by better people than you. And I'm still here. No, it's not a threat, Kevin replied calmly. It's a promise. You want to play this game? Let's play. But let's be clear on the rules. The studio fell utterly silent, except for the low hum of cameras. Even the crew had stopped moving, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. What rules? Joy asked, for the first time betraying a slight tremor in her voice. Kevin smiled, a cold, thriller movie smile. The rules are simple. You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk about your accountability. You want to discuss people's past actions? Let's discuss yours. Joy laughed, but it sounded forced. What are you talking about? I'm talking about your industry, she said. Kevin's voice rose with intensity. I'm talking about the career you built attacking people who can't fight back, about the guests you ambushed with questions they weren't prepared for, the accusations you leveled on live television, leaving people humiliated, destroyed, or silenced. Joy's face flushed red. That's called journalism. That's asking tough questions. No, Joy, Kevin shot back, voice now sharp with theatrical force. That's bullying with a microphone, and I'm not letting you do it to me. You can't intimidate me, Joy said, though her voice wavered slightly. I'm not trying to intimidate you, Kevin said, calm but unstoppable. I'm asking for honesty. You asked about accountability. I'm asking about yours. You asked about consequences. I'm asking about the consequences of your actions over the years. Joy's knuckles turned white as she gripped the table. My actions? I've spent my career speaking truth to power. Kevin leaned in, unflinching. The guests you've destroyed with ambush tactics, the careers damaged by reckless accusations, the people who left this studio humiliated because you thought it made good television. That's the legacy of your actions. Joy opened her mouth, searching for a response. That's not... But Kevin cut her off. The young actors who came here to promote their first films and left feeling attacked. The politicians who agreed to interviews, only to face hostile interrogations. The authors, musicians, directors who trusted this show and ended up victims of your brand of character assassination. Joy's usual confidence faltered. Her hands gripped the table as her voice shook. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about, Kevin said, leaning forward. Because I've spoken to some of those people. The entertainment industry is smaller than you think. People talk. They talk about the fear they feel when booked on this show. The anxiety of facing one of your ambush interviews. That's not true, Joy began, her voice cracking. Not true, Kevin pressed. I can give you names. The young actress who had a panic attack in your green room after 10 minutes of attacking her personal life instead of her work. The musician who refuses television interviews now because of how you treated him here. The Broadway producer. The documentary filmmaker. The environmental activist. The cookbook author who cried on live TV. The teenager scientist grilled about whether her parents did her work for her. All of them. Joy's face drained of color, her hands trembling. Her co-hosts exchanged worried glances toward the control booth, searching for someone to intervene. You're lying, she whispered. Am I? Kevin's voice dropped to a deadly calm. Accountability works both ways, Joy. You want to hold others accountable? Then you need to be accountable for your actions. And your actions over the years have been consistently cruel, destructive, and shielded by the facade of this television show. Joy sprang from her chair, which rolled back with a sharp scrape against the studio floor. Her face was a mix of rage and panic. I don't have to listen to this, she shouted. No, you don't, Kevin said, calm as ever. You can walk away. You can do what you've always done when someone finally stands up to you. You can run. Run, Joy echoed, her chest heaving. I've never run from anything in my life, haven't you? Kevin leaned back, confidence unshakable. What about the Broadway producer 3 years ago? The personal accusations you couldn't back up. And when he defended himself, you cut to commercial? Or the documentary filmmaker trying to discuss her work on women's rights, and you attacked her personal life instead? Suddenly, technical difficulties? Joy went pale. Stop it! Kevin wasn't finished. The environmental activist here to discuss climate change grilled about his divorce for 15 minutes. The cookbook author crying live because you focused on her weight instead of her recipes. The teenage science competition winner, full of excitement, only to be questioned about whether her parents did the work for her. With each example, Joy seemed to shrink. Her co-hosts watched, stunned, as if seeing her for the first time. Those were legitimate questions, Joy murmured, voice hollow. Were they? Kevin's eyebrow rose. Or were they the questions of someone who confuses cruelty with journalism? Someone who thinks making people uncomfortable is the same as holding them accountable? Joy's hands shook on the back of her chair. You don't understand what it's like to do this job, she said, voice breaking. I understand exactly what it's like to do your job, Kevin replied, icy and unwavering.